Okay, we've started recording and let me share my screen here. There we go.
All right, we're ready. Well, welcome. You are here with Christine Pollard and I, Rebecca Thompson Hitt, and this is sponsored by the Consciously Parenting Project. This is holistic immune support. We're going to be talking about holistic ways to support your immune system to be strong and active, and holistic not just for you, but also for your family. So if you've got children, we're also going to be talking about your kids. We want your questions. We want your interaction. We want to hear, maybe even what you've tried and if something worked, if something didn't, and if you have questions about any of the things that we're going to be talking. And I want to say that Christine is the one who has put this whole thing together. And I'm really grateful for her sharing her expertise with us today. Christine is one of my graduates of my 2-year training program. She's a holistic family consultant and educator with the Consciously Parenting Project. If you have been on any of the community healing story circles, you have undoubtedly seen her and some of her colleagues, some of her other students, fellow students and graduates. She is everywhere with the Consciously Parenting Project. She's been a great help to me. And she's also in my year 3 training program. So she's got lots of experience. She's actually started the community healing story circles during the pandemic, just seeing the need. So she's really been so responsive to what the community has been needing and really showing up in some beautiful ways. And this is just one other way that Christine can share her experience, her wealth of knowledge on this topic, which I know is very near and dear to her heart. And I know I have picked her brain a couple of times. When I got COVID the first time, I'm like, I have this terrible cough. What should I do? What can I take? So I'm really looking forward to learning more from you today, Christine. So thank you so much for being here and for providing this information and support for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and share this with all of you. So yeah.
All
Anything
right.
else before we move on?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you are in the right place if you are unsure how to support your body's immune system naturally. If you're looking for more information or to expand your knowledge of natural support for your body and its wellness, if you're looking for free and low cost ideas to naturally support your immune system, not just looking at costly supplements. And also, if you'd like to learn how to make elderberry syrup, we will be talking about that today too.
I love elderberry syrup. Oh my God, that's so good.
My kids love it, especially.
Oh yeah.
So if any of these are something that you're interested in, please let me know in the chat. You can type yes.
Or if there's something in particular that you are really looking for today, we want to make sure that we're answering your questions and the reasons that you are here.
Exactly.
So if you can just take a minute and just type in what you're most interested in hearing today, we'd love to hear that.
And Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind sharing those, because I can't read the chat right now with my slides open. So.
Yep. So if someone types something, I will let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Rebecca just introduced me, and then can I talk about you a little bit, Rebecca?
Yeah, talk about me. That's great.
Yeah, so Rebecca is the founder and executive director of the Consciously Parenting Project. She has her master's in marriage and family therapy. She's a pre and perinatal educator. So many things. Rebecca does so many things. She's the author of 3 books. The first one, Consciously Parenting, What It Really Takes to Raise Emotionally Healthy Families. And her follow-up books, Creating Connection, Nurturing Connection. And she has her 4th book coming out, hopefully this year, end of this year, called It's Never Too Late to Heal. And you want to briefly talk about what that's about?
Yeah, well, I was doing I was having a conversation with my mentor Ray Castellino, and I was saying, I really want to talk about healing. I really want to talk about how you can heal relationships, how you can, we all have stuck points in our relationships. We all have things with our kids or with our partners or with other extended family members or friends, and we have these places that feel yucky. And how do we move through those in a way that feels good to us, that feels authentic? And so I asked my mentor Ray Castellino, tell me about healing. And what he kept saying in essence is it's never too late to heal. And he talked about stories of, you know a mother and daughter who were, I think the mother was in her 60s and the daughter was in her 40s, and they healed their relationship, and it had the daughter's entire life it had not felt good. And so it was so inspiring for me to hear that's actually the title of this book. It's never too late to heal. And that doesn't mean that we can heal every single relationship and we're going to be best buddies with everybody. But it means that even if we can't, because the person is no longer here, no longer available, not capable of a relationship, we can still heal that within ourselves. And if we can heal with somebody else, this book talks about how to do that. So I'm excited about it, and it's going to the editor on October 3rd. So
Yay! I'm excited
yay, the
for it too.
final
Long time in
editor.
coming.
I know, so long. I had to do a lot of my own healing work to write this book. That's the clincher for like any topic that I found that I want to write about, is that I have to experience it in a really deep way, which meant I spent 10 years healing relationships. So that's what that means. You
And
get
now
my
you get to
expertise.
share all your wisdom with us.
Exactly. You don't have to take 10 years to do it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. And I'm so glad you're here. And we'll be talking about healing today, but in a different way.
Yep.
And so thank you for being here with me as we do that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And at the end of this, there's 3 bonuses. I have an ebook of herbal remedies that I personally use. These are a lot of my own recipes, some that I've even come up with entirely myself, that have been really helpful for my family. These are my first go-tos when any of us are sick, so I'm sharing those with you. You'll also get a copy of these slides, and then I also have another PDF page with links of all of the main like supplements and herbal resources that I use. So if you're interested in any of that, you can check that out. And I will upload that into the chat at the end of this webinar. So I will tell you a little bit about myself, how I kind of got into this holistic health realm. My journey really started when I was about 18. I was experiencing a lot of different health problems, digestive issues, skin problems, anxiety, sleep issues, joint pain, brain fog, all sorts of things. And then when I was I had gone to doctors and no one really seemed to have any answers for me. And when I was about 21, I just went to an alternative health doctor, and I went on a really restricted diet, got some specialized supplements, changed a lot of things in my lifestyle, and like all of my symptoms went away. And I was just, I was amazed that that was even possible. And it was the best I'd ever felt. I was in college and like not having brain fog. I was like, I can learn and I have energy and I can sleep and like I feel good. It was really amazing. And yeah, so then over the course of, the end of college, and I got married and started working. I was a teacher, a high school chemistry teacher, which was a really stressful job. Teachers work really hard. And then I got a lot of those symptoms back again. And then I got pregnant for the first time, and like a lot of my health stuff kind of exploded. But I found a lot of different natural health supports. I ended up having home births with midwives that really supported my process, which was nice, which I know isn't for everyone, but for me, it felt really nice. And yeah, I don't use like any pharmaceuticals because I haven't needed them. I think it's been 10 years since the last time I used a pharmaceutical, and that was like an emergency. I had an abscess tooth that I had to take care of. And yeah, so I've just been eliminating a lot of toxins and uh, unnatural things from my body, from my lifestyle, and just started becoming really conscious of the types of things that I'm consuming, that I'm putting on my body, because that was something that was really important to me. And yeah, so when my oldest child was about 1, I got introduced to like essential oils. Maybe some of you know about that, but I was not using them safely, but I didn't know that. And so I had found like a free course on the safety of herbs and essential oils. And then that kind of led me down this path. And I wanted to use herbs safely with my kids because I don't feel good giving them pharmaceuticals when I'm not sure what's in them and just, suppressing symptoms. I want to support holistically the whole body. And so then I took a 6-month course on botanical pediatrics. And that helped me to know how to make my own medicine safely for children, as well as for adults. So it, talks about dosing and all that kind of stuff. And there's so much information out there, and there's a lot of unsafe information out there. So it's really been a passion of mine to help spread some of that awareness, to really, consider who you're getting information from and if it's safe. I know it's a huge industry, the health industry, natural health industry. There's so many like influencers and things, and unfortunately not everything is safe, not everything works. But then about 5-ish years ago, I got connected with Rebecca, and that's where I really started healing my emotional health and started that journey. And that plays a part in this webinar as well, because emotional health makes a big difference in our physical health. So yeah, in order to get healthy, you have to be healthy. So we're going to talk about ways that you can be healthy today. All right, so I'm curious what you guys think. Do you already know some natural ways to take care of yourself? If you got sick tomorrow, do you know what you would do? Do you have stuff on hand? Do you know what you would use? I'm just curious where you are at in your journey, if this is something new for you, or if you are familiar with a lot of this already.
And I can just say, hopefully someone will, I don't know, can you all chat? Because I'm wondering if you're chatting and we're not seeing it. Can somebody type something into the chat just so we can make sure that that's working? Because I haven't seen anything from anybody yet. And maybe there's a setting that needs to be shifted. Zoom is always changing things. But while we're pausing for a minute, I want to answer that question because, I know a lot about herbs. I know a lot about a lot of this natural ways of caring for the body, and I've been doing it for a long time. But I moved to Mexico 3.5 years ago, and I don't necessarily know how to do things here or where to find things here. And so that's been a big learning curve for me is like, okay. And I've got a friend who lives south of the city, and I've called her a couple of times. Where can I find this? Is this the thing here? Can I so it's been a real learning curve for me to adjust to a different environment and what's available here. So that's been really interesting. So I have some things on hand that I brought back from the US, but I don't necessarily have things that I can, like I was looking at the elderberry syrup and the elderberries, and I thought, oh, can I get elderberries? Do they a thing here? So that was my experience. I'm going to let you keep going. I'm going to go see if I can adjust whatever's happening with the chat, because no one
Sure.
I have not received any messages, so I'm going to go check and make sure that it's working.
Sure.
So I'm going to let you go.
All right. All right, so this is what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about prevention strategies, what to do at onset of illness, different ways to support yourself while you're sick, recovery from illness, and then we'll end with how to make your own elderberry syrup. And yeah, I mean, viruses are everywhere, and hygiene alone is not enough to keep us from getting sick. And we have no control over the strength of the virus, but we can have more control over our immune system and that health. So as we're talking today about immune system health, I wanted to talk about a difference in the way our society, at least in the US, thinks about the body and how herbalists and natural practitioners kind of think of it differently than our, conventional medical system. So, when you go to see a specialist, let's say, they specialize in a specific area of the body. Maybe it's, cardiovascular system or the digestive system. But our body, all the systems are connected. And so if you're affecting one, you're going to be affecting another part of your body. So I like to look at things holistically and not as separate systems. So it's going to be different than just, oh, I want this herb for this symptom. That's what allopathic medicine does. But this is about really supporting the body, not just managing symptoms. And yeah, so we'll start with prevention. So we'll talk about some ways to prevent illness. And one question that comes up a lot is, do herbs actually work? And the answer to that is, well, it depends. It depends on how you use them, and it depends on if you're choosing the right one for you. So when it comes to using herbs, herbs aren't just like a pill that you take that has a one like use, right? And so one herb can have many different uses. And when you put herbs together, they can work synergistically. So they're like multiplying the effects that they have on the body when they're used together in certain ways. And if you're not taking enough of the herb, then you're not going to see its effects. If you're taking too much, you might get some other issues happening. And our bodies are unique. We're each individual, and herbs work differently in different people's bodies. We have different energetics. We have different needs. And so if an herb works for one person, it's not necessarily going to work for another based on that body's needs. So this is really getting connected to your body, looking at what your body needs and choosing the herbs that support that need. So herbs can work if they're used correctly.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting what you said about, and allopathic medicine, you have a headache, you take a Tylenol. It's like and what's the dose of the Tylenol? Well, how much do you weigh? Like that's kind of the end of the conversation. And so I've seen this too. Herbs, a lot of times people go and say, okay, well, I heard that this herb is good for this problem that I'm having. And so you just take that and you look at the dose on the back and you take that and this didn't work.
Right.
Or maybe it did, but then you get something else, something else goes wrong and you try a different herb and it doesn't work. So I think that's really important, that this is not allopathic medicine. We're thinking about it differently. We're thinking about the whole body and what's going on with the whole body, and not just, oh, I've got a headache.
Right. Right. And my personal perspective is, okay, you have a headache. What's causing the headache? Not just get rid of the pain. Especially
Right.
if it's chronic headaches, like your body's telling you something. So, or, if a lot of people know nowadays that inflammation causes a lot of issues in the body. And so, okay, we'll take anti-inflammatories. Well, the inflammation is there for a reason. Why is
Right.
it there? What's causing it? So we want to look at, what is our body really needing and supporting that, instead of
Mhm.
just, oh, I have this symptom, I want it to go away. The symptom is a message. It's telling us something. It's trying to get us to pay attention to it. And if we just, you know, ignore that and try to get it to go away, then we're missing some really important information that our body's trying to tell us.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Learning to listen to our bodies is an art.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. And so important and not valued enough.
Hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, when it comes to prevention, we'll look at some preventative techniques, and then when to increase, so like if you're going to be around, like if your friend group, a bunch of people are getting sick and you're going to possibly be around them at some point, that'd be a good time to be like, oh, I need some extra prevention strategies here.
Mhm.
Whereas, if that's not the case, there's going to be times where you don't want to constantly be extra supporting your immune system, right? Because
Right.
because then it's never going to have its, normal baseline. You can't keep pumping it up. You need to let it rest. So, when it comes to herbs for prevention, you want to take breaks. You don't want to, it's not something that you're going to take every day forever and be like,
Right.
oh, I keep boosting my immune system. Well, that's going to just become your baseline if that's what you do.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
looking at when to actually up things and when to back off. So here's our 5 strategies, which I'll go into more detail. First one being exercise. And we all know exercise is important. Like you hear that everywhere. But a lot of times they don't really tell you why, like more specific whys. So when it comes to immune health and exercise helps move the blood and the lymph, which helps us to clear out the gunk faster. And so things like jumping, like on a trampoline, is one of the best ways to really move lymph.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So if you're looking for, maybe you don't like to exercise, you don't have to go to the gym for an hour every day. This
Oh,
isn't
thank
like,
God.
you can do 30 minutes of walking is enough really for overall wellness. You don't have to do like high intensity workouts every day or multiple times a week. If you like those, that's great. Keep doing them. But if you're someone struggling to get exercise in, it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. And when it comes to like even just building energy and like our mitochondria, if you just do like 1 minute of high intensity, say like running in place on a trampoline, that can be enough, And so it's something to just kind of get things moving in your body so it's not just stagnant and and building up. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be tons of exercise, but our bodies do need movement, and you can find exercise that you like. It can be dancing, it can be yoga, it can be running, it can be weightlifting, it can be calisthenics, whatever feels right to you and you enjoy doing. Because if you enjoy doing it, it won't feel like such a
Oh my God, I
hurdle.
have to go exercise. Yeah, I really appreciate the explanation, Christine. It's not just move your body, move your body. It's actually, this is what it's doing.
Mhm.
And this supports your immune system. I think that we often think about exercise as, well, it helps our cardiovascular system and, it helps your heart and blah, blah, blah. We think about that, but we don't necessarily think about the other things that are also happening. It's not just about strengthening your muscles and, giving your body tone, which is also good and important, but
Right.
it's not the only thing that's happening. And that's pretty
Right.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say something and I don't remember what it was, but that's okay. Guess we can move on then.
I still can't figure out how to enable chat. So
Okay.
I apologize. I'm still looking and trying to find a setting that is not right. So I apologize that we can't hear from you and connect more with you. I really wanted to hear what you had to say. So I'm going to keep looking at it while Christine continues. And I'm also listening.
Okay. All right. Somehow turned on the captions on my computer.
Yes, captions are on here too.
Okay.
It's been enabled. I didn't click anything. So,
I
so
clicked it to get rid of it and now it's
and now it's on. Okay.
I
Let me
love
see if I can.
technology.
I'll see if I can figure. Well, and Mercury's retrograde, so that's always fun too. I'll see if I can figure out how to turn it off.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Okay. I'm really irritated that I can't remember what I was going to say. But I will move on, and
I
if it comes
hate that.
back to me, I will come back to it. There are also a few herbs that I'll talk about that help move lymph too. So there's herbal
Nice.
action and there's, the physical action. And yeah. Oh, right, because the lymph also helps deliver nutrients. So as we're boosting our nutrients, we want to get that to the parts of the body that need it, and it eliminates the metabolic waste. So those are really important actions when you are coming down with something. So when you're sick, you don't want to intensely exercise, but this is again a preventative action. We'll move on. Uh-oh. My slides aren't moving. There we go. So next preventative measure is time in nature. This can be, our sunlight, vitamin D on our skin, fresh air, and just slowing down. I feel like when we're in nature, we slow down, we become more present. Just even looking out your window and seeing green can have a positive effect on our bodies. But being outside in nature, around trees, around wildlife, it makes a big difference for our bodies. And I know I definitely notice when I'm not outside enough, it has an effect on my mental health. So next, proper digestion. I feel like this gets not talked about enough. Everyone wants to talk about, healing the gut, which is really important. But the first step in that is actually proper digestion. So if you can't digest it, you're not going to get the nutrients that you're eating. And so this starts with how we eat. Chewing properly. We're supposed to chew until our food is mush, not big chunks that are just small enough to swallow. Slowing down, not just inhaling our food. Being mindful while we eat, noticing what we're eating, noticing what it tastes like, noticing if our body feels good or not when we're done eating it, So this is really important when it comes to our health, because this is where our body gets the nutrients that we need to support our bodies. And there's a common misconception about stomach acid and having too much stomach acid, so having to take antacids. And this was fascinating to me when I learned at a practitioner training that what is considered to be high stomach acid, or like acid reflux, is that what happens is we actually have too low of stomach acid. And because of that, the food that sits in our stomach starts to rot instead of get broken down. And when it starts to rot, other gases are released, and our body's trying to get rid of it because it's toxic. It's not something our body can use. And so that's when you get that reflux and that, feeling of something coming up, and it burns because it is a gas, but it's not our stomach acid. And so when we can increase our stomach acid, then our body does a better job of breaking down that food, and then we get the nutrients, and the reflux can go away. And it also helps our liver too, because then we don't have all these undigested food particles and rotten food and toxins in our body that our liver has to filter out. And so it helps in a lot of ways.
Yeah, this was actually a big issue for my oldest son. He had acid reflux as a baby, and we were lucky enough to start seeing practitioners who said, "Oh, no, don't do the other medicines. He doesn't have enough stomach acid." And so even now as an adult, we'll be somewhere, like we were just in Mexico City, and he said, "Mom, I can we get some apple cider vinegar? I need to help my body here." And so completely the opposite of what one would think, but that really, really helps him. So just seconding what you're saying.
Try and get rid of these captions, but does it show you if
I can just see your arrow, and
okay.
There's like a little dot, but I can't see anything else.
Okay. All right. I think I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So here are 6 options for improving stomach acid and digestion. So one suggestion I have is to take digestive enzymes, just like 1 bottle for a month, like 1 time a year, just to kind of kickstart or give a, little boost to your stomach acid. I start every morning with lemon water. I take half a lemon, squeeze it into my cup and fill it with water. And you can also use like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar instead. I have digestive bitters, which is kind of like a tincture. You just take a few drops on your tongue. They are very bitter, but it instantly starts, readies your body for digesting food. So it starts producing enzymes to make your body ready to digest food. And there's one that I have included on the sheet at the end. There's like bitters that work better before you start eating, and then there's bitters that can help after you're eating. So you can do both or one or the other. Ginger pickle. This is grating ginger with some lemon juice and salt, and you leave it overnight, and then before a meal, you take just a little bit, you chew on it. It's pretty spicy, to get your saliva really working and digestive enzymes started. You don't swallow it, you spit it out, but it's just to kind of get it started. Another way is morning elixir, which if you get these slides, there's a link here to the recipes. This I found through someone called The Whole Journey, where they focus a lot on gut health. And it's lemon juice, salt, honey, and ginger that you mix up in like 16 ounces of water, and you take like first thing in the morning. Just it helps the liver and the digestive system like really start working for the day. And then triphala is another herb. It's Ayurvedic, that you can take at nighttime usually to help the digestive fires kind of go. So these are all different things that you can use to help increase your stomach acid if you feel your stomach acid is low. I try to do some of these nearly every day just to keep it at a good level. And also like cold drinks can really inhibit digestion, because we want it to be warm and those digestive fires. And so if we're drinking a lot of cold drinks or drinking a lot at a meal, that can really dilute that stomach acid. So it's really best to drink like 30 minutes or more before. You can have a little bit at meals, but you don't want to be having most of your liquid intake while you're eating. So yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And it's a Mexico-centric question. So lemons are really expensive and hard to come by. We have limes.
Yeah, you can use limes instead.
Limes are equivalent for this purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. They're plentiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can use limes instead.
I thought so, but I just wanted to ask. Thank you.
I don't know if it's exactly like all the same benefits, but it's as far as the stomach acid goes, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
And now that the chat is working, if you have questions or if you have anything that you want to say, please feel free to type in the chat. We do want to hear from you. It was totally not intentional that was off. And then it took me so long to get it on.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I can see it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So the next one is reducing stress. We all have experienced stress, and there's millions of ways out there for people that will tell you how to reduce stress. My biggest one is prioritizing sleep. I know that can be really hard in this day and age where it's like hustle, 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 work till you're exhausted, overproduction, and we often, in order to meet the demands of life, we tend to kind of skip over how much sleep we need. And sleep is so important for so many things, but it's when our body heals itself. So if we're not really getting quality sleep, our body's processes aren't really at their peak. And I want to talk about that quality over quantity. So, a lot of times, oh, you should be getting however many hours of sleep. That's fine. But if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, but it's not quality sleep, it's still not really going to do a whole lot for you. And for some people, 6 hours of sleep, if it's really high quality, can be enough. It's really personal. So looking at what's best for your body. But when you can be consistent to like going to bed at a certain time, your body will get used to that and will naturally wake up, when it's ready. And so then you get the quality sleep that you need. So it doesn't have to be a certain amount of hours, but really facilitating getting quality sleep. And for me, I'm really sensitive to light and sound. So I wear a face mask or an eye mask, and I have a white noise machine. Those things help me personally to get better quality of sleep. I try to get to bed at a certain time every night. That doesn't always happen, but I do tend to wake up close to the same time every day. So if I'm trying to get enough sleep, I kind of notice that there's these windows of when I really need to go to sleep and when I naturally wake up. And another reason why exercise is important is there's a book that I read called Burnout by Amelia Nagoski. I think that's her name, and her sister Emily. But they were saying that the research shows that the most effective for completing the stress cycle is exercise. So moving our body gets the stress out of the body. And even if a period of stress, like the event has ended, the stress can still be stored in our bodies. So we need to get it out. Otherwise, we'll still be in a stress response. The next thing after exercise was breathing is the next best thing to help complete that stress cycle. And so there's breathing exercises. You can do meditation and grounding exercises. But I recently came upon some really interesting new breathing science that's coming out as it relates to energy, and how if we're not breathing properly, it can really, really take from our energy of our bodies. And so it's been talking about nasal breathing, not deep, and diaphragmatic. So we're breathing from our bellies, not from our chest, through our nose, and it's slow and it's light. And you can train your body to breathe properly, and that can help give you more energy and can also help with stress. But breathing light, to where you're lengthening your exhales, which helps change our body's physiology to stay in the parasympathetic rest digest state instead of being in an anxious stress state in our sympathetic nervous system. And when they were talking about breathing light, it's like if you put your hand up to your nose and you're breathing out, you would barely even feel it. Otherwise, we're breathing too fast and too deep. And when we do the slow, lengthened exhales, it also is more effective at removing carbon dioxide from our lungs and our blood. So yeah. And when we get too much CO2 buildup, that carbon dioxide in our system, then that can create a stress response, a physiological stress response. And so I wanted to show one thing that I learned that I've found to be effective. It's called a physiological sigh, which will naturally happen, but we can, like extreme stress or anxiety, or if we are doing like intense exercising, like between reps, we can use this. And it's really effective for helping the body to calm down. So what you do is you breathe into your nose. And then once you feel like you have a full breath, you do a slight little more. And then you kind of sigh long through your mouth. So you just and you only have to do it 2 or 3 times. This is not something that you want to like do all the time, because then that will have counter effects. It's not meant to be done all the time. But if you're feeling really stressed or anxious or panicky, or even if you're having trouble breathing during a workout, that's one technique that you can use. The next reducing stress is layers of support, community, and connection, because we are not meant to be alone. We need other people. We co-regulate. I don't know, Rebecca, would you like to talk a little bit about co-regulation?
Oh, co-regulation. Yeah, it's, we have so many messages in our society that we're supposed to regulate ourselves and our kids are supposed to regulate themselves and, go out by yourself. But actually, our physiology needs other people to know that we're safe and downregulate. And so when we're with other people, it's not only about, oh, someone else is with me, but someone else who can be with you and slow down with you, and your body starts feeling like it's actually safe. That's different. That's different than, go calm yourself down, go regulate yourself. We need each other and we need each other's physiology. I like the analogy of and this I've since I heard this, I've done it a couple of times. When you walk into a room, you orient for safety. And so, like, you might walk into a new space and you're looking all around and assessing where you are, and you're actually looking to see if other people are alarmed. You're looking to see if you're safe. So we need those layers of support, and especially as parents, but as individuals, as humans, we need other people who can be with us. We need support in lots and lots of ways. I think of for most of time we've lived in groups of 50 or 60 people where we've all been spending time together, doing the tasks of life together, and we are so isolated now. So we're not going to change that and go live in tribes anymore. That's not going to happen. But seeking out opportunities to be with each other, and not just in the same space together, but really being with each other. That might be turning off the phones or turning off the television or whatever other distractions are going on. Think about it like if you can create a space as if you were sitting around a campfire, even if it's only for 5 minutes, connecting with somebody else, that helps your physiology to downregulate in connection with other people. We have healing story circles. I mentioned that at the beginning. This is the Consciously Parenting Project's version of sitting around a campfire and having a space where you can be in connection and co-regulate. Whether you share anything or not is irrelevant. It's you just being in that space with other people who also have that intention of being together. And so it's a great, there's free community healing story circles Christine runs every week. So
Mhm.
you've got opportunities every single week. So layers of support are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is a question. I don't know if you want
Oh,
to answer it
yeah.
now or if you want to answer it later. I can read it for you if you want to. It's
Yeah.
about
Okay.
sleep.
Going to ask how to improve sleep quality. My husband is on shift, so he changes from day to night shifts every 2 weeks. Are there any herbs or remedies he can take? We are working on reducing noise and light already, as well as keeping the temperature in the room low. Yeah, there are. So one, I can answer this now. One thing I would consider is the stress involved in changing your sleep schedule every 2 weeks. So I would actually look at a class of herbs called adaptogens, which are herbs that help your body regulate stress. And there's one in particular that helps pretty well with sleep. It's called ashwagandha. It might work or it might not, but there's a whole bunch of different herbs. There's tulsi or holy basil. There's lemon balm, eleuthero, which is Siberian ginseng, ashwagandha. There's a whole bunch of them. I'd look into those class of herbs. Ashwagandha can take, usually you have to take it for 2 weeks before you start seeing things happening to know if it's going to work for you or not. But something like you could take something like valerian tea to help you like fall asleep. That is something that will put you to sleep and is for something like that. There's skullcap and catnip all kind of work together for sleepy time stuff. And then there's also chamomile, which does not put you to sleep, but it does help the nervous system calm down. So those are all things you can look into and try. Sometimes it's nice to have the ritual of tea. You know, it's a slowing down, it's warming, it's calming. That can be helpful. When it comes to the adaptogens, those are usually roots. So they're a lot of times in powdered form or sometimes in tincture. And so those can be taken any time of the day. And I usually put those in food. Like I either make like for my husband, I put them in like homemade granola bars or energy bars. Sometimes I make energy balls and put them in there, or make like a latte and put it in something like that. But yeah, it sounds like for something shifting like that so quickly, might need more than just sleep, but having the stress support as well. Reading this other comment.
I want to share, I'm getting ready to go on a trip to Europe. And somebody was talking about this app called Time Shifter. And it's the idea of how do you support your body to do that transition. And so it actually, it's really cool, and you can play with it. You have to put in a flight number, so you might have to make something up there. I don't know, but it's really interesting because it says, all right, when do you normally go to sleep? And then what time zone are you shifting to? And then it talks about, well, and how much sleep do you normally get, and all of that. Do you normally use caffeine? Do you not? And it gives you a detailed schedule for about a week of shifting your body. And so I just think it's interesting. I keep thinking it's needed for other things like this, like shift work. And, like, well, how do you adjust your body then in the gentlest, kindest way? And what this app is showing, it was developed by someone who was an astronaut and so had to adjust to really weird times. But it talks about like a couple days before you start shifting your schedule a little bit in one direction or the other. If you're going back, you're going forward, and then it invites you to take a nap at a certain time to help your body to adjust. So I'm also just sitting with that. And I just wanted to share, because I'm fascinated by this idea right now of how do you do that? But that's called Time Shifter. So
awesome.
I'll throw it out there as an idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't either. So new to me.
Yeah. So sleep is just so important.
It's so important.
Yeah. And, having routines for ending our day, or maybe needing to, journal or brain dump or something to just kind of integrate or let go of the emotional or mental stress from the day too.
And that's really good for our kids too, and figuring out when in relationship to bedtime that needs to happen, but giving them a space to talk about their day and integrate their day. So I want to name, kids too. We all need some sort of a routine, and it's not necessarily first you brush your teeth and then you put your pajamas on, and it might actually be a little bit of emotional releasing of stress also.
Right.
So
yeah. And then the last thing is do something that you love for 20 minutes a day. This has been shown to even improve your mitochondria. And so for your energy source for your body, I mean, if you can't start with 20 minutes, try 5 minutes, but finding something that really is resourcing for you, something that you really just love spending time doing, and trying to prioritize or schedule that in each day so that you have something for you that you're doing each day that you really love.
I love that idea. I love that. I'm thinking about some clients who could really use to, to hear that right now, that, even if lots of things are hard, yeah, doing something that you love for
Mhm.
even 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes a
Cool.
big
Thank you.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'll move on. Oh, no. There we go. I just love this quote from Brene Brown. If we want to live a wholehearted life, we have to become intentional about cultivating sleep and play, and about letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth.
Amen.
Yes,
Yes, that.
getting out of the daily grind and, we putting the value back on ourselves
Yeah.
and what we need. The last one is just diet and herbal remedies that you can use to prevent illness. So if you can, reduce those processed foods, the artificial ingredients, sugar. I know it's in so many things. It's really convenient, but it comes at a cost to our health. You can try adding fermented foods. If you do have some gut issues, sometimes that can not be helpful at first. So just something to keep in mind. Staying hydrated with water and herbal teas. You'll find places where they're like, oh, you need to drink a gallon of water a day, or you have to have 8 glasses of water before you can drink any other kind of liquids. And that's not what I do. Usually, they recommend like take your body weight and cut it in half, and that's how many like ounces of liquid you need a day to be hydrated. But between my like lemon water in the morning, and I'll do sometimes like a green juice powder and whatever herbal tea I'm drinking that day, and then some water. That's what I'm doing. But I'm not drinking 8 glasses of water and then doing all those things. I don't think there's enough time in the day for me to drink that much.
I have other things to do.
Yeah. And when it comes to, sipping throughout the day to keeping, our insides moist and getting what we need, and adding minerals to our drinking water, which can help us not have to go to the bathroom so often if you're drinking a lot. Like some people don't want to drink because they're like, oh, I'm constantly going to the bathroom. You might need to add a little bit of minerals to your water to stay hydrated, because sometimes just plain water can not really keep us hydrated, surprisingly.
Do you have a recommendation for minerals to add to the water?
So there's things like called concentrated minerals that you can just add a drop or two, or you can just take some salt and sprinkle it, a little pinch, and sprinkle it in your water.
But
And that
like
can work
real
too.
salt, not like
Yeah,
iodized
not
salt.
iodized salt, like pink salt, sea salt. Yeah,
There's a brand called Real Salt that we
yeah,
use. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
You can use
full of
that.
minerals, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's what my son does.
Yes. And staying away from the caffeinated or carbonated beverages. Too many carbonated beverages can damage your stomach lining. And if you're relying on coffee for energy, it's also really interesting that, just as with any of the other herbs I was talking about, needing to take breaks. If you're not taking breaks from having caffeine, then it actually lowers your baseline energy. So like whatever you were when you started, and if you're drinking coffee and you get a boost, well, if you're drinking coffee every day, you're no longer getting the boost. Your boost is now your baseline what your
Mm.
baseline was before.
Mm.
So if you're looking to get the most energy out of caffeine, using it when you really need it and taking breaks, so it's actually giving you a boost. But it can affect other parts of your body. So if you can avoid caffeine or limit it,
Yeah, especially if you're under a lot of stress,
Mhm.
caffeine or you're anxious, caffeine can really exacerbate those symptoms. And it activates your fight response in your nervous system. It dumps cortisol. So I put a statement in my book, the It's Never Too Late to Heal book, about caffeine, and my editor was like, prove this. So then I had to go find the research. So there's a lot of research on that,
There is,
actually.
yes.
So just FYI.
Mhm.
But I also would recommend going slowly if you are having a lot of caffeine to boost you up. You might need some other support.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And that's when I would look at, you know, coming back to those adaptogens with when it comes to stress and modulating stress in the body, those can help give you energy as well, but not in a way that's in the same way as caffeine, to where it can affect your nervous system like that. Yeah. Having a variety of fresh whole foods in your diet, because our gut bacteria feed off of different foods. They don't all eat the same food. So if you're not getting a variety of foods in your diet, then you're only going to have certain kinds of good bugs in your gut.
I just had this image of like these bugs, these like, good digestive flora, but like these little guys who are like just waiting for, the food, and they're like, "Oh, no, not that. Oh, I'm so hungry." Like I had never
Right.
really thought about there's different ones that would eat different things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know eat a wide variety of things, but that was just a like, oh yeah, they're so hungry.
Yeah. And fiber is such an important part that kind of gets lost, especially with fad diets and especially keto and stuff, where they don't want you to eat root vegetables. But fiber, our gut bacteria feed off of fiber.
Mhm.
And, each root vegetable has its own stuff in it. And so if you get one of each root vegetable during the week, like, you're feeding all your gut flora, not just certain ones. And and those are good gut flora. When they eat that fiber, we can't digest the fiber, but they can, and they output beneficial stuff for us when we eat those things. So,
Nice.
yeah. We can't digest the fiber, but other things in our gut can, and it has good benefits for us. And then there's so many herbs, even just culinary herbs, that people don't really think about, really have a lot of benefits for our bodies. Basil and rosemary and parsley and sage and thyme, onion and garlic, those things do so much for our bodies, and can help modulate our immune system to work properly. So, yeah, lots of ways that
Nice.
food can be our medicine.
Yeah. So I just want to name, we're at about 8 after.
Okay.
And so I don't know how long the recording is set to go,
Okay.
because it will kick us off at a certain point.
Okay. I don't
So,
remember how long I said it, but I'll keep moving.
yep.
So at
Just
onset, that was the longest part, I think. So first sign of symptoms. So really noticing your body. And if your throat is dry or scratchy or kind of sore, if you start sneezing or having a runny nose, or you just feel that like ickiness either in your body or in your throat or somewhere, and just knowing like, something's a little off, that's a good time to take something to support your immune system, because it can ward off something or help it to you not to be sick as long. But you take immediate action. So don't wait to see if like, well, it might not be nothing, and then it turns out to be something. Or even if it might not be nothing, you're still kind of giving extra support to your immune system so that it really doesn't become anything. So here's some ways, things to do at onset, because that's really the most important time to be doing stuff when you're sick. The first one being rest. The last thing we want to do, but it's the one that's most important because our body really needs it. That might be one reason why we are getting sick, because we're doing too much or we're too stressed. So slowing down, prioritizing sleep and breaks, and reducing any strenuous stuff, activities or working long hours, stuff like that.
Strenuous exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Next is herbal remedies. If you're not taking vitamins, you can consider upping those at this time. Vitamin A when you're sick, C, vitamin D, zinc, depending on what you need. This is where I like to take elderberry syrup and fire cider. These are two of my favorite remedies to use. And at onset, you're going to take more than you normally would for just prevention. So to prevent, I take elderberry syrup if I know I'm around people that are sick or something, 1 or 2 tablespoons a day. Same with the fire cider. But if I'm sick, I'm going to up that to 4 tablespoons, and probably, because you want to keep the support for your immune system throughout the day, not just at certain times. If you can take like a teaspoon every hour, they'll just keep you going. Usually meets the 4 tablespoons if you do it for several hours during the day. Echinacea is one herb that you can use at the very beginning. It's an immunostimulant, so it has there's different properties of herbs and they work different ways, but this one stimulates the immune system but doesn't work so well once you're actually sick, like in the thick of it. So that's something I usually take as a tincture or put it in my elderberry syrup. I don't usually put it in mine, but it's something you can add to your elderberry syrup. So something to take right at the onset. And then herbal teas. And I have an herbal tea recipe in my ebook that I'm sharing with you guys. That is antiviral. And so I like to take that when I'm feeling like I'm coming down with something. Or a hot toddy, which is also in the ebook recipe, which is a warm drink, if you don't mind alcohol, using whiskey and herbs to help. Next is hydration, making sure that you're hydrating yourself. You can do lemon water with a pinch of sea salt for the electrolytes to keep you hydrated. There's lots of different herbal teas you can take when you're coming down with something. Bone broth, smoothies, fresh vegetable juice. But yeah, it keeps your throat moist if you're having a sore throat or coughing, keeping your sinuses and everything moving. Dietary changes. If you, again, are at onset of something, eliminate sugar, eliminate dairy, especially if it's you're having a lot of mucus, because that will increase your mucus. And if you're trying to get rid of it, you don't want to eat dairy. Cold foods. Usually if you're starting to feel kind of cold, you want to warm your body up. So you want to have like soups and stews and warm foods. Things that are easily digestible, so we're not creating more work for our body to do when it's really trying to focus on healing. If we're eating really heavy meals, it can slow down our digestion. And we want nutrient-dense foods so that when we are eating something, we're getting a lot for it instead of, just kind of eating empty calories. Cooked vegetables are easier than raw vegetables to digest, and smoothies or fresh juices. And if you don't feel like eating, listen to your body. You don't have to. You can just stay hydrated. So if you feel like, oh, I have to eat something, if you're really not feeling it, I'd just say listen to your body. And last is hydrotherapy. Get in a warm bath. Use, if you have a lot of congestion, you can use a neti pot, or wet sock treatment is one of my favorite things to use, especially with children. You soak your feet in as hot of water as you can stand, hopefully getting them a little pink. You get some thin cotton socks that you soak in ice water. And then when your feet come out of the warm bath, you squeeze out the socks, put the cold socks on your feet, cover those up with warm wool, like thick wool socks, and go straight to bed. And this helps increase your circulation, and it's really great if you have a fever, and you do it 3 nights in a row. And that's one of my go-to remedies. My kids are always like, oh, I think I'm getting sick. We need to do wet socks. It helps tremendously, especially with fevers and congestion. So if your kids are having a hard time sleeping because they're so congested, this really helps with that.
Fascinating. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Somehow I've never heard of that. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. If you still have lingering symptoms, even though you're doing all of these things, depending on severity, please call your doctor. Keep an eye on things. Pay attention to what your body's doing. If you've been taking herbs, keep doing what you've been doing, but drop echinacea or anything that's stimulating the immune system, herbs, immunostimulants, because then we're going to switch to things that will just continue to help modulate the immune system more gently. And yeah, so this is the time to reevaluate what herbs you're using, or, what foods you're consuming, and if you need more rest, if you need, more warmth or whatever. Yeah. But keep supporting your body. Don't stop. And then you feel better, right? When do you feel better? Well, don't stop. Please don't stop, because recovery time is crucial. The first day that you're feeling better, you're not over it. And it's really easy to overdo it, and then you relapse, or you can relapse, or your recovery takes a really long time. So you're like, oh, I'm feeling better, but like 90% or 80%. But then you feel 80% for like 2 weeks instead of like 3 days. So this is just as important as prevention and onset to keeping your immune system functioning well, because it helps, build that immune response. If you're doing too much and you're not recovering, it's going to hinder that immune response. So we want to keep it going healthy and strong. Really need to do recovery, spend time on recovery. And if you're feeling good, take one more day. Your body needs it.
Yeah, that's so hard, and that's so hard in our culture. I just want to name that piece, especially with kids in school, and you can only miss so many days. And so we're like, and we all experienced that growing up. If we went to school, that, nope, you got to go back. So it's a pause at the end, and it's allowing that rest at the end, which can be really challenging. So yeah.
We're like, oh, we've been sick. We haven't been able to do anything. I'm
Got to do all the things.
Yeah. And that's the last thing you want to do at that time. You can do that. So just wait a little bit longer, and your body will function much better for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So this is where we go into elderberry syrup. So before that, I just want to share, because I don't know how much time we have, the bonuses before I go into this other stuff. So in the chat, I'm going to share the bonuses with you. Documents. There we go. So here's the ebook. The herbal supplements and resources, and a copy of the slides. Those are for you. And now I'm just going to take the time to go over elderberry syrup. This is one of my favorite herbal remedies. My kids love it, so it's really easy for them to take, which is nice. It's
so yummy.
It's an herbal syrup that you make, and elderberries are high in flavonoids, and they can disrupt a pathogen's ability to replicate. So it's really good for upper respiratory viruses. And in clinical trials, patients who took elderberry syrup reported fast termination of symptoms. 20% reported significant improvement within 24 hours, 70% by 48 hours, and 90% claimed a complete cure after 3 days. And so the dosage is 5 milliliters or a tablespoon 4 times a day for five days while you're sick. And in this trial, symptoms were relieved an average of 4 days earlier than placebo or other rescue medications that are given usually. And yeah, so being able to end your sick, like a flu, for example, 4 days earlier, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've personally experienced this. I think it's like 5 years ago, we all came down with the flu. We experienced symptoms for 2 days and then had some recovery time. That was it. 2 days.
Nice.
Yeah. So like this really works. So we're going to talk about how to make it, because it's so much cheaper to make it than to buy it. It's really expensive to buy it. It's kind of a thing now. So
It's catching
that makes
on.
it expensive.
Right.
And so here's our steps. We're going to gather our ingredients.
Yeah.
So these
and
are
it's
the
also not
ingredients
as pure. Yep.
that I use, and you can use different herbs. You can just use elderberries and that's enough. But like I said earlier, herbs have like a synergistic effect. So I use all of these to help kind of bring lots of extra benefits.
And where do you get your elderberries?
So I get my elderberries through, it's called Frontier Wholesale
Frontier.
Co-op,
Okay.
which you can find a local co-op in your area, or a health food store usually will sell them, or you can look at other places online, but they can be kind of expensive that way. So this is what I put into mine: elderberries, licorice root. You do not want to take licorice root a lot if you have high blood pressure, because it will increase your blood pressure, or it can increase your blood pressure. So it's something, if you struggle with that, you might want to take out if you're going to be taking elderberry syrup for prolonged periods of time. Cinnamon, clove, black pepper, ginger, rosemary, thyme, and rose hips. And so I picked all of these different things because they each have actions for cold and flus, different ways to, lots of different things. Ginger is really good for, digestion, and licorice root is really good, a synergistic thing to add to really boost all the properties of everything else. And so what we are going to do is we're going to gather all of the ingredients, and we're going to soak all the berry seeds and roots. So if you notice, we had rosemary and thyme. Those are leaves, so we're not going to put those in at this time. I just soak them to soften them up for about half an hour to an hour. And then you're going to bring it to a boil and simmer until it is reduced by half. So this is called a decoction. You want to do it this way to have proper dosage. I've seen some people use recipes using an Instant Pot, which I don't really understand, because it's not just about cooking. It really needs to reduce the liquid by half to have the proper dosage. So
if you use an Instant Pot, use it without the lid on the top, so that it's,
right.
so that
Yes.
it's boiling. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. And because it's not enough to just steep berries and roots in water to get the benefits of them, you really have to boil them and cook them down. Otherwise, you get the flavor, but you don't get the benefit. Then you're going to remove from heat, and this is where you add your leaves. So you can do any sort. You can add, sage if you want to. That's really good. Sometimes, if you don't mind the flavor, I'm still nursing, and sage can decrease milk supply, so I don't use that. But I usually put rosemary and thyme in, because rosemary is really good for colds and flus and antimicrobial. So you steep those like you're steeping tea. You put them in there and just cover it for like 20 minutes and let it steep. And then you strain it out. You can use cheesecloth and a strainer, or this is a potato ricer to really like mash everything really good and squeeze out all that juice. And so I started with 4 cups of water, reduced down to 2 cups. And if you accidentally reduce too much, just boil some extra water and add it in to the 2-cup line or whatever, however much you're making, because that can happen sometimes. And then the last thing is honey. I use raw honey. Some recipes tell you to keep cooking it with the honey, but I don't want to do that because then you kill off a lot of the benefits of the raw honey. So I keep while the decoction is still warm, I add my honey, which to 2 cups of decoction, I add 1.5 cups of honey. Pretty sweet, probably why my kids like it, but honey by itself has a lot of its own benefits. So I like to preserve those. You mix it up, keep it in a jar. It can stay in the fridge for 3 to 6 months. I like to pour it out because if you're like putting spoons and stuff in it, it can go bad faster. So label it with a date so you know how long it can last. And yeah, that's
So it's not good after 6 months. Is that
it might be. It's just, well, first off, mine doesn't really last that long.
okay, yeah.
Because we use it. But you'll know, like mold will grow in it otherwise, and you'll know that it's bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't have mold in it, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we had some and we left it in Florida, and I went back and I'm like, oh, someone made this for me. And then I was like, but is it still good? And then I saw that 6 months and I thought, oh, it's definitely been longer than 6 months.
Well, it depends on the recipe. So like, because I use a lot of raw honey and that's a preservative, so that can make it last longer. But if you're using a different sweetener, or if you're not using as much, it might not. So for my recipe that I use, the way I make it, it should last longer.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Oh, are you not able to see the link?
Yeah, I think that they were shared to panelists. So I'm going to reshare them. I'm
okay.
going to try.
Thank
So
you.
while you're doing that, I'm going to try to do this.
Okay. Well, I can do this.
I think I got it.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Next. So that was it. Just any questions? Do you have any more questions? And then those are the free bonuses.
Oh, you got it.
And I have a lot of recipes, several recipes in there. All the things that I do when me or someone in my family gets sick. So neti pot, wet socks, how to do wet socks is in there. My elderberry syrup recipe, fire cider, which is another recipe that I like to use, which is just a bunch of like onion and horseradish and garlic and turmeric and cayenne peppers that you put in apple cider vinegar. You let it sit for a month, you strain it out and add some honey, and it works really well when you're congested or coming down with like any kind of respiratory thing.
All right. Well, any questions? Anyone have? Yeah, sounds awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of information in this and it's not everything. But can elderberry be taken whenever, or is this something? Yes, you can take it as a preventative. But again, you don't want to take it all the time because you can't forever boost your immune system. You need to give it breaks. But like fall, when cold and flu season is starting up, that might be a good time. You only need 1 to 2 tablespoons a day for prevention. But then if you get sick, you want to up that more often. And up to 4 tablespoons for an adult, and for a kid, it would be 1 teaspoon, 1 to 2 teaspoons a day for prevention, up to 4 teaspoons while sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for your question, Clarissa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to probably abruptly end in a moment.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I hope this is helpful to you. And we can stay on and ask more questions if you have them for a few more minutes.
Yep. Yep.
Is it ending?
I don't know.
Oh, I
I'm
don't
just saying
remember how long I
an
set it
hour
up for.
and 30. So
Is that what I set it up for?
yeah, so that's
Okay.
why I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna do. But if you have questions, we can keep trying. So yeah, this is really wonderful, Christine. Thank you so much for sharing your information with us. It was really lovely.
Thank
And
you.
if you enjoyed this presentation, share it with your friends. We'll see if we can adjust the sign up page so that people can still sign up and then get the recording. I think we can do that. So we'll send something out to all of you who are here, and we'll put the links on the replay page for the bonuses. And if you really, really loved it and you want to donate, all of that goes to Christine for sharing her expertise with you. So, even $5 is appreciated. I know she put a lot of effort into this, but it's not a requirement.
No.
We're just trying to encourage her to keep doing fun things. That's all.
Yeah.
And sharing.
Question about
Ah,
remedies and herbs. Ooh, menstrual cycle. Yes. Yes. Mhm. I do. And I want to say in my thing that I shared with you for the resources, there's a place called Herb Mentor that you can sign up. It's like an annual subscription. It has so many courses on there. One of them is Herbal Cold Care, where I learned some of this information, but it goes way more in depth. It has herbal monographs for like so many herbs that give you everything you need to know about that herb and how to use it. Lots of different courses and podcasts and resources on there. And there's another place through the Herbal Academy called the Herbarium. I'm not affiliated with any of them. I do use Herb Mentor. I do subscribe to that personally because it has a wealth of knowledge if you want to learn more about herbs. But menstrual cycle, that can be very individual. So it would depend. There's a few things out there already available. One is called Flow, and one is Elix, ELIX. They make herbal products specifically for menstrual cycles for women. And there's so many things, so many things that can impact a menstrual cycle. So that's a whole separate conversation.
Right. And your question too, that your friend who has really irregular periods, possibly caused by her going raw vegan for 4 years. So there might be some other underlying nutritional deficiencies that are going on there as well. So it might not just be a question of herbs, but also like really looking at the whole system. And did that throw her into, a fight or flight response? Because her like a raw vegan diet can be something really good for a cleanse, but for a longer period of time, it doesn't. Kind of like, Christine, you were saying earlier about a keto diet. A lot of these diets don't satisfy all of our nutritional requirements. So there might be some underlying nutritional deficiencies there for her as well. So there might be herbs that help, and there might be some
and other things. Yeah, like if there's PCOS or other, diagnoses or stress can really impact a menstrual cycle. So really have to look more at her individual needs. And but yes, I use herbs personally to help with my menstrual cycle, so they can be really beneficial. But I also take into account, what I do for stress relief and dietary needs. So really looking at it from a holistic perspective of everything that she can do for her overall health, because the menstrual cycle is really giving information about the health of the body.
And there's also a really good book called Hormone Intelligence, Aviva Ram, that I've been
Yes,
reading.
yes.
And that has a lot of really great
Mm-hmm.
information about really understanding if there are other underlying conditions or other things. So I just wanted to share that as a resource too. It's really well done. I think
Yes,
every woman needs to read that book because it really
absolutely.
talks about how the we have these vital signs that are used by the World Health Organization, and they've added a woman's menstrual cycle to the listing of vital signs of health, overall health of a woman. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I really wish I'd read this book like 30 years ago.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
seriously. So Aviva Ram, Hormone Intelligence is a great resource for that too.
yes. Thank you for bringing that up. It's absolutely. And I
Yeah.
love Aviva Ram and her resources as well. If you follow her on Instagram or Facebook, and she's an MD, former midwife, herbalist, a really awesome person. So
Yeah, so that's a great resource.
mhm,
So
yeah, you
yeah, so
can.
good luck to your friend, and yeah, hope that she finds what she needs to feel better. Yep,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah. And in that book, it also has so many different urban supplement stuff that you can try too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, depending upon
in
what's
that,
actually
yeah,
happening in the body. Yeah.
yeah. How do you donate? On the replay page, there will be a button, and also on Rebecca's website at consciouslyparenting.com, there
On the
is
home page, I think.
yeah, on the
Yeah.
homepage, there's a tab for donations
Mhm.
that you
Yeah.
can put there.
And we can put it in the email too that we send out. Thank you, Jeanette.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. And I know I wasn't able to go into tons of different herbs and what they do or what you can use, because you're going to choose different herbs if you have like a dry, scratchy throat versus if you have a cough that's productive or a cough that's unproductive. Different herbs do different things.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you can also, if you have an herbal question, you can email me at Christine@consciouslyparenting.com, and I'm happy to answer some questions or help you find an herb that might work for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine.
Yeah, thank
Really
you.
enjoyed it. I love hosting these kinds of things because I learned stuff. So just really grateful for you sharing your knowledge with us and your passion. This is clearly something that you love. And I'm excited to try out some of the recipes and figure out how to get some of those ingredients. So
Thank you so much. I'm happy
yeah.
to be here. And yes, this before I found you, Rebecca, and all the work that I do through consciously parenting, this was my other passion in life, holistic wellness and
Yeah.
herbal care. So
Well,
yeah,
we hope you'll share more with us at another time. We would love to hear more.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And share with your friends if you enjoyed this. Let them know that there's a replay. And I'll try to go fix that page right now so that they can sign up. So, yeah. All right.
You are welcome. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay.